Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, May 27th. And we'll start with the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion on the motion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard on items not on the agenda? I don't see anyone in the audience. Do we have anybody online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We will move in then to the approval of bills and vouchers.
Mr. Chair, move for approval of the bills and vouchers.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Krabenhoft. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And for the minutes, we have the May 13th minutes to approve, as well as the work group session minutes from April 22nd.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2025, and the work group session from April 22nd, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Our 8:35 item is a request for approval to hire 2 open juvenile worker positions in the non-secure unit. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, I'm here today to request permission to rehire 2 open positions in the non-secure unit, juvenile worker positions. These positions are budgeted for, and I didn't provide a calculation. I got that request just last week and I was on vacation, but these 2 that are leaving are relatively new. And the replacement, so the savings will be minimal. Most of the savings will be in the form of the healthcare not picking up until the following month. Other than that, that's all I got.
And there is no need for backfill on these.
There's no need for backfill. These would be the entry level.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve hiring both, or filling both of the open positions.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any question?
I just have a question.
Yes, Mr. Bear.
For this position, is it a do you train them? So if someone applies, they don't need any experience? Or how?
Yep, they would need some college, but then some life experience. But then, yeah, we do the training.
Right.
So we provide the training. So this is an entry-level position, so this does not require a bachelor degree, but it does require some, yeah.
If you went to college, or?
If you went to college, 60 credits is what we're going for. And I mean, we have people over there that are working with great life experiences. So we have one that went for a marine mechanic, so work on boats, was he originally went for, and then he applied for a position. He's been working with us for about 6 years now, and he's doing excellent, so.
Okay.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, James. And then we have the, let's see, accept and sign the JAG grant to renewal.
Yeah, so I got notice about 2 weeks ago. Actually, I was looking for this grant to come up because it was time to re-up for it, and it never came, so I thought that went away, but it didn't. I just got an email 2 weeks ago that said they wanted to extend it for another year, so it's for $125,000. I'm requesting permission to sign the paperwork to accept that grant for the $125,000. It pays for case management for our CLIPS program. I originally applied for the grant in 2018 and got it in 2019. And it's been part of our plan. So far, this grant's netted the county about $875,000. I'm just requesting permission to sign it. That'll bring us into 2026 with this grant.
Gee, I wonder if we should do that.
Well, it sounds like quite a program. Can I make a motion then?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Kravinoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? I just want to, even though you really did an awful lot to get that grant started in the first place. You were really involved with that, and like you said, it has saved the county an awful lot of money, so I appreciate your efforts on that, so. All right, so with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. folks. Sheriff, Gabe, good morning.
Morning.
You're going to give us a presentation on a Lucas device.
Yes, so a couple months ago, Gabe put in for a grant through the Helmsley Charitable Trust Foundation for a Lucas device. And what a Lucas device is, it's a life-saving device that when somebody's having a cardiac event, it provides chest compressions for them at the right speed and the right depth. And these have been a proven tool in life-saving measures for people. So it's about a $25,000 total grant that we were able to receive. And we're about one of 25 agencies across the state of Minnesota that received this. It's kind of a big deal to get something like this. It's a great device. We have seen it work very effectively in the past. And to have them in a deputy squad car is going to be great, because there are times that we are the first on scene. There are times that we might be the only ones responding. So this is a big deal to have. Ultimately, it'd be nice to have one in everybody's car, but it's quite expensive. So we're hoping we can get more grants for them. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Gabe, and he is going to take over.
Yeah, as you can see, it's really easy to set up. Slide the board under, the machine locks into that, so one person can set it up, and then to operate, power it on, and put the plunger into place. Oh, of course, I put it down too far. As a sensor to know when it's in place, and I have not been through the training yet. So as part of the grant, two of our deputies went to a train the trainer, and up in Alexandria, or down in Alexandria last week. There it goes, it clicked. So they will run everyone in the sheriff's office through the training. And so once it's locked in place, it does compressions at a steady rate, and it allows the deputy or whomever's on scene the option to communicate on the radio, hook up an AED, do whatever else needs to be done if there's multiple victims. So really just a great tool. You can pause it. AED can still work in conjunction with this, so this can be doing chest compressions, and AED can be hooked up and done. This device also, so the Helmsley Foundation gave the state of Minnesota $18 million grant a few years ago. The University of Minnesota manages the grant, and initially, so about 3 years ago, the grant started off with putting AEDs in every squad car in the state of Minnesota for the most part, if you wanted to put in. So we got like AEDs for every squad we have, and now they're expanding on this. So their goal is, we're basically one of the pilot counties or departments, try it out, see how it works, especially in rural areas, and then their goal is to expand this program kind of throughout the state if it's well received. But Sheriff and I have seen this used many times. We've been on scenes where we've had to do CPR, and we're in rural areas, and you get tired out really, really quick. So this is just a wonderful, wonderful addition to the sheriff's office. And what we plan on doing is just kind of working up a rotation, so it'll be in a squad car most all of the time, and can first respond if we get a medical call of a cardiac arrest throughout the county. Anything I'm forgetting, boss?
I think you hit everything very well. It's from somebody that's had to do CPR in a rural area, you get tired very, very quick out there, and you can't wait to see somebody else show up and take over for you, so you can at least get a little bit of a break. And to make it even worse, you have all this equipment on, so that makes it even harder to do. So this is a great tool for us. We're very excited to have it.
It came with some other accessories and extra battery stuff. And I don't know if you remember during COVID, but we seeking some money to support our rural rescue squads, and just the battery, it's a rechargeable battery, we've got two of them, they're like $900 for the battery. So not a cheap device, but just a great tool for us to have.
Excellent. Commissioner Ebinger.
You'll just get the one unit,
Right now, we just have the one unit, yep.
and you usually have, what, four deputies at it in patrol?
Four, yep, four on a shift.
So this is a good start.
Yep.
I did CPR twice, and it was in a city, and there were plenty of people to get there, and you're right, it's still, with the adrenaline going, when you've got to do something like that, this is, we would have loved to have that back in the day. So, having said that, I'll make the motion that we approve this grant for the purchase of the Lucas device.
All right. There's a motion to approve the grant. Motion by Commissioner Ebinger, seconded by Commissioner Krabenhoff. Any further discussion? Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we're factoring in, I see there's warranty on this, but just factoring in some sort of internal service component in regards to the ability to offset a cost.
Yeah, so granted we accept it, I will fill out a fixed asset sheet, submit it for internal service, so we do have the ability to replace it after its lifespan. I'll also add it on to the insurance schedule.
Okay, great.
How about, Gabe, did you mention something about the training, and where is the training held at?
So our two deputies went to Alexandria, and that's a train-the-trainer, so they will come, they now can train everyone else, all of our.
Training will
staff.
just be done.
Yep, and that was no cost.
Okay, very good. Yes, Commissioner Bear.
What would be the lifespan? What would be the lifespan of something like that?
5 years would probably be realistic. Maybe it'll last longer. That's what we put on our AEDs, anyway, with batteries and things like that. I believe, just looking through the paperwork on the warranty, I believe the batteries that came with it have a 2-year warranty, so I'm assuming that'll, if they are defective or whatnot, that will cover that for the first 2 years.
Commissioner Krabenhoff.
I maybe should have asked the question earlier. When you're using these, how do you decide what's first, the AD or this, or how do they work in conjunction?
Well, usually what we'll do is we'll get that AED set up right away so we can get shock going, and as somebody's doing an AED, then you get your Lucas device set up. So they are working together in tandem with each other. So you're trying to get everything set up as soon as you possibly can to get that blood flowing through the person's body who's suffering that cardiac event.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Even if the AED is advising no shock, it's not detecting any heart rhythm. Once you start CPR, you continue CPR until, a medical provider could either, make the judgment call to transport or call. So once we would start this or start CPR by hands, we would continue.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Ebinger.
Would the Lucas device interfere with the AED's ability to say whether you need to give a jolt on it or not?
No. In fact, they're actually they're made by the same company, and they actually communicate with each other through Bluetooth technology. So it's pretty amazing tool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that thing can be pumping while the shock is going on?
Yeah, and there's a pause button on it too. So if you need to, if you need to remove closing, to add the AED pads and stuff like that, you can actually pause this. But just a side note on our AEDs with the technology too, they connect to our sheriff's office Wi-Fi. So after a deployment, the deputy brings it back, uploads the data, and they actually get a report on their CPR, on the rhythms and the heart rhythms and stuff like that. So.
All right, anything else? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, thanks, Sheriff.
you.
Thanks, Gabe.
On a side note, nobody wanted to do the live demonstration for that.
You didn't ask.
That and the taser's hard to get volunteers.
I was thinking maybe we could have our administrator do that.
Assistant. Break him in.
Why don't you keep that close by when we all have to work through the budget this year?
All right, Joe, we're gonna talk about the Department of Corrections agreement.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and Board. Yeah, as you can recall, during the Justice Center plan, the board had approved that a few weeks back, and so I said I would come back to the board with an agreement with the state. I worked in conjunction with the state and the county attorney's office here, so we do have a lease here to present today for approval. Some key points, just so you know, within this lease is, it's a 5-year lease agreement, and within that, as you remember, the state was gonna give us $150,000 to upfit downstairs where they're gonna be renting on the north, it'd be the northeast wing there, and I had them incorporate that into this lease, and so that's in there, and then it was important to both the state and the county that we did have an out clause, just in case you never know, and so we have a 1-year out clause there, and other than that, we have it planned to start November 1st, and construction downstairs actually starts today, so.
So Joe, on the out clause, so, the 150 that they're putting in for the remodeling of this,
That doesn't tie into, you know, if we want out, we don't have to pay them back or anything.
or if they want out, we don't have
Right.
to pay them back, okay.
Yep, exactly, yep, totally separate, so.
Well, I know, you know, this had been through building committee, and certainly the building committee recommended this, and I think it actually ends up being a positive moving forward from a revenue standpoint too, right?
Yeah, we have an estimated total of 64,404 that'll be annual, but I think that with this move, I think we get an extra 20, just over 20,000 extra, so.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement between Clay County and the Department of Corrections.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, Joe, next.
All right, so I'm looking at, this is another topic that we had been discussing at the building committee. We had as part of our capital plan, in 2026, we had a plan to replace the roof at the joint facility, highway facility over there. We feel that with the numbers we're seeing right now, it'd be better to move that up to 2025. We do feel we have enough funds, county funds, to do that, and so what we'd like to do is request for, to advertise and then we would open for bids June 24th, so it's got to advertise for 3 weeks. And we're partnering up with MnDOT and the city of Moorhead. Both of them have agreed to fund this project, so we would open bids on the 24th, and then I'd come back on July 1st with the approval to go ahead with this. That Monday prior to that, I'd have Moorhead City Council approve that as well with the numbers, and MnDOT has already approved it as a part of their project. Their budget starts in this July for 2026, so it's already a goal for them, and they've given us approval. So permission to advertise, and we do have a estimated cost of $445,000 to $500,000 within there, and we're responsible for about 45% of that. So, questions for me?
Questions?
Just maybe for clarity, I know you talked about it in the briefing, but our joint facility, who are the partners in that facility?
Be state of MnDOT and City of Moorhead, and then there's a committee that meets. We meet every few months we meet, but this has been a topic. We've actually repaired the roof a few times, but those are the three entities that are on that. I believe we're 45% coverage. City of Moorhead owns 22%, and then 33% for MnDOT.
So just another great example of how partnerships can save entities money by pooling together resources.
Yes, yeah, this has been a good, hopefully it's a good project with the numbers. Yep.
With that, I'll make a motion to advertise for bids for the roof replacement project at the joint highway facility.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay. All right, next we have a county code update.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Today I'm going to talk to you about the county code, which is the laws of Clay County. And I guess I'm going to start off by explaining why I'm the guy talking to you about this. And the county code here is, it really wasn't anybody taking care of it. We put it online in 2001. We had some ordinances since, and they were all waiting to be integrated into the code, and that really didn't really have a good process for doing that. So every year we would get together and talk about how we were going to fix this, and it kept getting worse and worse, and this elephant kept growing, and eventually we decided it was time to do something. What really motivated us was the fact that the Title 8 of the code, which is Development Code, is under review and is going to be revised soon. I'm involved specifically because the county code lives online, and it's on our website, and I'm responsible for our website, so I've been trying to figure out how do we make this more current and easier to use for our people. So I got the gig. So here we are. So what we decided we needed to do is figure out how do we take and put all these pieces together, which is a process called codification. And we looked at some vendors that do this for us, and we found out that it was a $20,000+ project, and we didn't have those kind of resources. So what we were able to do is put together basically a group of folks inside the county that had some skills, and special thanks to the recorder's office for letting us use one of their staff and some other folks. But we were able to actually do the codification in-house over the last many months. We took and put basically everything that had been adopted and put them in order into this big document. And then we moved it to a new platform online where it now lives. And then after we had finished that, we put together a committee to look through it and say, how's our code look? We haven't looked at it for a long time. Actually, what we learned is we hadn't looked at it in great detail since 1985. So it was probably due to be gone through. So let me show you here. So the county code lives on our main website. At the bottom under our quick links, there's a button right there that says county code, and then you can go there, and anybody in the whole world can go look up our code, which is all the ordinances that we have in place that regulate everything that's happening here. So the new system we have looks like this. This is it right here. This is the actual code and all of its parts. This is titles 1 through 7. The code is divided into titles, chapters, and sections. Each title is like a category. Title 8 is missing still. Next week, you'll get to see that. Title 8 will be coming before you, and once you get it to the point where it's ready to be put into the code, we will add that. You'll see Title 8 added to this once that happens. But what we've done is gone through titles 1 through 7 and make sure that they all make sense. And some of it, what we learned was, some things we had a lot of issues where, well, you see it here, you get an ordinance, you work on it, it gets adopted and inserted. They weren't always matching. One of the big issues we had was definitions. Every title has a section for definitions, and just simple things like the county board was not always described exactly the same way. So what we've done is we've cleaned that up throughout the entire code, and this new platform that we're using allows us the capability to do these edits ourselves. What we found before, the old system we had was every time we needed an edit done, we had to pay a vendor to do that, and it just wasn't, it just didn't work. So now we can do these minor edits like that ourselves. What our committee did is, as we went through these, we actually looked at things that were either inconsistent, were either incorrect, or just needed to have be cleaned up a little bit. Errors, there was some of that kind of stuff. Dates, there was a lot of dates in there that we took out. Another thing we also have removed from the code is fees. There's sections in there to talk about fees, but they're not specifically listed in the code because they're set by you folks here through other processes. So it'll just refer to the fees, and those will be someplace else. Okay, so The code itself is a pretty amazing document. I've learned a really lot about it. It's a lot about how it works and how it functions and how all those things go. So anyway, so our committee was consisted of myself, our assistant county administrator, our county attorney, and then we brought in subject matter experts on depending which title we were working on. People like the sheriff helped us, our solid waste director, our planning and zoning director, our environmental services director. We brought those folks in when we worked on their sections of the code to make sure that they made sense and were accurate and we weren't missing any things. So what we've done is we've gone through, we've cleaned it up, we've got it all ready to go. It's now online. It's as current as it's ever been. It was I can't really explain how big a lift this was, but this is a big deal. And we're pretty fortunate to have it now in such a good position, and our goal is to keep it that way. We actually had a test of it here about 5 or 6 weeks ago. You made a revision to the tobacco ordinance. Within a week, it was reflected in our online code. In the old days, that would not work as well. But we actually have a process in place where Sarah's involved in it, as she's taking stuff from you, and she takes it to the recorder's office, and they do their steps, and it ends up at the auditor's office. So there's actually a workflow in place now to make these things happen and keep it current, which was really what we were targeting from the very beginning, is how do we make this document accurate and current so that you can, if you have to look up something, you can go there and actually find what the actual current laws of the county are. So anyway, as we went through the process, we're going through this and we're talking about laws. We're also, a lot of our laws here in the county are tied to what we find in the state statutes specifically. So we try to make sure that those were matching. And what we found is this committee, as we went through, we found a few pieces of our code that are obsolete. They're just no longer needed. And today we're going to talk about those and give you some options on how to deal with that. But we found it mostly because the state statutes they were related to are no longer in, or they've been repealed at the state level, so which impacts how we had used them. Or we found out they just are no longer being used. So that's the code itself has been, so let me back up just a smidge. So what happens when an ordinance comes to you as a county board, you ordain is the verb, something, and it comes out as an ordinance, like ordinance 2005-02, that gets then it gets codified into the code, and when it goes into the code, it changes from being an ordinance, it will become a section, a chapter, or a title, depending on how it goes. So it matches the rest of how the code is configured and organized. So there's that process is what we're really trying to address here. Okay, any questions with all that so far? I know it's pretty exciting. And not like saving a life-saving machine, but it's a pretty good deal. All right, so what we have the capability of doing is right now this code, the thing you're seeing on the screen here, we have the code in what's called proposal mode, where I can actually make proposed edits to the code in real time right here on the screen, and then you can act on them. And if you decide to do that, then we can actually make those changes right now today in real time. So the way it works is we can actually highlight stuff and redline things and add things. So if we're adding, it's green. If we're taking out, it's red. And then we can go through the steps and make it actually happen. So just to clarify.
Mark, can I?
Yeah.
So some of these things are put in here because we've went through a change in an ordinance, or we added an ordinance, right?
Yes.
So, and all of that was done through part of that process required public hearings.
Yes.
So how are we able to repeal and modify things that were established through a public hearing process?
That's a good question. And okay, so if we're going to make any revisions to the code or additions to the code or modifications to the code, we have to have a public hearing to do that. Yes, you're totally correct.
So we don't just edit these on screen and
No,
or
we
makes a
could
motion
do that, and then we would say, okay, now let's take it to public hearing and go on.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're not missing
totally
that
correct.
piece of the public.
No, that's totally correct. The issue today before us, though, is we've got 3 pieces we'd like to repeal, and what we did is we researched the rules about what happens if we just want to get rid of them. We're just repealing them. So I consulted with our favorite county attorney,
Thank you, Mark.
who said,
Per the statute, and looking at it, I mean, when the board is not, I mean, if you're not taking an action that's making someone do something, there isn't anything in the statutes anywhere I can find where if you're going to repeal something and take it out, that you have to have a public hearing to get rid of it. So, I mean, you're not taking an action that's causing citizens to do something, so there is no requirement to do a public hearing. So you can and could, as of today, you know, on some of these sections. And I think what you're gonna see here from Mark, for instance, there's an ordinance in regard to public dancing, which is not something that we really regulate nowadays, but it's still in our ordinance. So, again, there's no necessity to put that out there and find out if people would like, even though there's no state statute regulating public dancing, or that we still somehow need to do that. You are free to repeal it. So that's what I'm telling you.
Right.
All right.
Which leads us to our first suggested change, which is, where are we at? Ordinance 2025-02, to repeal section 2-2-23, which is dancing restricted, which is on the screens right now, and in your packet, it's red. I don't know why, when it made it red, it didn't strike through all of it, but everything that's red is going away.
Okay, so that was one question that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at this, some of it's crossed out, some of it isn't. So everything that's red is what's
Everything's
going
red's
away.
going away. If it's staying, it will be, or if it's new, it'd be green, or if it's staying, it'd be black. So everything that's red is going away. I don't know why it didn't strike it, but, so we're basically getting rid of this whole section, which basically talks about restricting dancing within a serving bar and requiring a certain size thing. Reason we wanted, one is we don't really enforce this rule, and the other one is the law, the state law that this related to, it actually mentioned right there, 624-42, was repealed in 1989. So the law it's referencing is no longer in effect, so this piece is no longer in effect as far as we could tell. So our recommendation as a committee is to you is, let's take this out, because it's just not doing anything.
Mr. Chair, do you want to go through these one at a time, or do we want to go through them all at?
What would the preference of the board be? Do you want to act on these individually? Commissioner Kravnaugh?
And if we do it as a whole, can we ask questions into the whole, or
Well,
whatever's easy?
I think what we'll do is we'd have to, because each of these have a different number, we would have to deal with them individually. I just don't know if you want to just hear it all first and then go back and take each one individually. Because it might have duplicate questions, so let's just go through it all and then we can come back and.
All right. Before I get there, one of the things I'll show you is, so the way this normally had been done is we would have this, if you approve this ordinance, there'll be a copy that Sarah has that she'll have you sign, okay? Today, we're gonna actually try to do it the new way too, which is it's gonna send you an email that you would approve, just like a DocuSign. It will go to the chair and to the tester, which is Steve.
Can we just?
We're doing both.
Can we just sign the dang paper and be done with it?
We're doing, it actually, let me show you before we get to it here. It actually shows you here what's gonna happen here. It's got Kevin's signature and his email, Steve's signature and his email, and it'll affix the county seal, which is the auditor's seal, onto the document when it's done. So when we go through this correctly, it should automatically change it in the online code is the goal. We're having you sign the paper one just because we may not be successful since this is our first time.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give you that backstory.
I just don't want this thing delayed while I'm trying to figure out how to sign a document.
No, that's all right. And we can, all right, and I could send that later.
I had to do that just recently and I took
Okay.
an act of Congress to.
So the first one is on repealing the dancing. The second one is on alarm systems. Alarm systems is actually an entire chapter in our code. And what we found on this one, let me go here, is it's no longer anything. It's not used. It was something that was in place a long time ago where, the best I can tell, alarms actually rang at the sheriff's office. And it's not something that's done any longer. It's just a long since obsolete thing.
Why do we have the one piece in there that says reserved in
Yeah.
green?
I did that because I wanted to reserve that chapter number. We're gonna leave it there. If I don't put it there like that, it's gonna take it away and move everybody up one. Because we're repealing one section. So that's the only reason it'll just be a placeholder, it'll say reserved.
In case something else comes along and we could fill in that one as,
Yes, exactly. We can put it in that spot.
Okay, all right.
We're pretty new at this too. So that's, the alarm systems one is just a long obsolete piece. It's no longer done. And let's see, in the last one, where to find it? Ordinance 25-04 is repealing sections, Title 4, Chapter 4, Section 1, which is drug paraphernalia. The reason we're recommending this one for repeal is the laws that this one is associated to at the state of Minnesota were repealed by the legislature in 2023. So it's no longer a thing. And I have the sheriff here if you need some questions about that.
I have some questions about
Well, I could easily inform the board on that one too, just so you know. Drug paraphernalia as a crime is no longer under statute. And so what used to be a petty misdemeanor to have drug paraphernalia in your vehicle is not a crime within the state. So the county could not create that and make that. So that, it's an obsolete, we would not be able to enforce that if that was on our, as it is on our books now, or ever. I mean, it's not a.
So all drug paraphernalia?
Correct.
Crack pipes and?
Correct. If you didn't know that, I mean, so if you see a meth pipe in your vehicle, what used to be what we would call probable cause to be able to go in and create a search, because if you have a meth pipe, you would obviously regularly be smoking meth in that. But the legislature felt and chose that that should not be criminalized, and so it is repealed. It's not something that we can use and charge. It can't be used as probable cause to go in and search a vehicle. So that is the world of today. I know Mark, I know Sheriff Empting understands that clearly. I don't know if the board would have understood that or citizens understood that as that was passed, but that's something we've dealt with and had to deal with. So again, the idea that somehow we could criminalize it separate, we cannot.
Yeah,
not to take us.
a lot of stuff I was gonna actually mention, Brian just mentioned, but yeah, it is no longer a crime in the state of Minnesota to have any type of drug paraphernalia, meth pipe, crack pipe, whatever type of drug paraphernalia is out there is no longer a crime as of 2023.
Just not to take us down too far off into the weeds, but just curiosity, would it be probable cause for DWI?
For DWI to have drug paraphernalia, no, you'd need to have some other factors that you'd be looking at as far as, their eyes, their reactions, their speech, things like that.
But it wouldn't go towards supporting that.
It would not, no.
Okay.
And I think it's important to note that, just for our citizens that are watching, is that if they go over to North Dakota, then it is a crime in North Dakota. It is, I believe, a felony in North Dakota. So it's, being a border community and having some of these laws that we have are not easy to work under.
Question. Yeah, so along that line, what about residue? So same for you as far as when you're coming upon a scene, so to speak, it would have no bearing.
Yeah, if there's a little bit of residue in a pipe or something of that nature, it's not going to be enough to test
Right.
through the Minnesota BCA lab, so it would just be something we would have to let go.
One question for you, not to go into the weeds either. If someone has an open beer and they claim that a water bong, can you get them from open container if they claim it as something else?
Open alcohol container, yeah, you probably could. Yeah, that's something that we'd probably have to test in the court system, quite honestly, because there's so many different loopholes like this. You just don't know. It gets to be the letter of law versus spirit of the law. What is that? Is that an open alcohol container, or is it a drug paraphernalia?
Yeah.
That'd be something that we'd have to look into and argue. That's what our county attorney.
That's a great question. I mean,
That is a great question.
It's a question.
let's not be the county to explore that. Let someone else fight that one.
Yeah. Let's not be the county.
That is the things that get created, though. That's the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing when you think about, you don't want somebody driving and drinking and having open containers in their car, yet they would have potentially open containers that they're using, smoking cocaine, methamphetamine, but it is what it is.
Since we're already in the weeds, our cannabis law allows possession of cannabis, but it's got to be in the original packaging and still sealed, or it's a violation.
That's correct, and it can be up to 2 ounces.
Yeah.
2 ounces in public, 2 pounds at home.
And the seal's got to be intact, just like the top's got to be on the, and is got to be whole on the liquor bottle, or the
Correct, yeah,
beer can can't be opened.
correct. It has to be in a sealed package, yep.
So we have these 3 items.
Correct.
You want 3 docu-signatures.
Yes. Right. We'd like 3 separate motions, one on each of the ordinances, please.
All right. First off, are we satisfied with this process that's been brought before us today? It seems to me that these are,
Dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. I don't think that any of our establishments that do have bars and dance floors would care to have us going in there kind of policing the size of the dance floors and how close they are to where the bar is. So,
And we still dance on the tables, right?
well, I've heard of people dancing on the bars.
We're getting in the weeds today. Sarah, good luck with the minutes.
All right, so let's, if everybody here is satisfied with the process that's been gone through here in determining these, then what would the board like to do on ordinance 2025-02?
I'll move to repeal.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabanoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger to repeal ordinance 2025-02. Right, or that's what the ordinance would do, would be to repeal.
Right, correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, and then we're gonna move on to the next one.
Which is alarm systems, 2025-03.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-03 to repeal chapters 2 through 4 of the county code.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion?
I just had a question on the false alarm piece. I get that we don't want to have something that's obsolete on the books, but when you have 4 to 6 alarms, I feel like that is taking important time away from first responders. And so I think there should be some course of action in addressing that. I'm not sure that, I'm in support of what staff is recommending here, but I also want to protect our first responders from 5 and 6 to 10 false alarms.
Yeah, we have responded to several locations throughout the county that are having alarm trouble. And usually what we end up doing is working with those businesses, and they end up getting their alarms kind of taken care of. And then we don't run into continuous activity. And then some of our local jurisdictions, they have their own ordinances that pertains to false alarms. For example, false fire alarms. If they get so many of them, some fire departments may charge for those false alarms, but that's within the local jurisdictions. But we try and work with the businesses if they're having, continuous issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I can recall when I was working for a company that had a rural main office and warehouse complex, and part of it was weather.
Yeah, high winds.
The weather could kick off different types of alarms, whether it be wind or, or storms. And the reason I knew that, because not only did the sheriff's department get called, then I get called, and I'd have to drive 15 miles out there to,
At 2 in the morning.
at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think if there's I think at some point in time, I do think Commissioner Mojo's right. If there's an abuse of somebody with putting in false alarms that's taking time away from your staff, then something needs to be done with that. But, I don't know if you can independently deal with that outside of language here.
That's something we'd probably have to take a look at. What we're seeing more recently is the swatting calls, where there's an actual fake swatting call that's coming in, and that's something that we can deal with at the state level through state charges.
All right, so we did have a motion and a second on that, right? All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried, and we have one more.
And our last one is 2025-04, repeal section 4-4-1 of the county code, which is drug paraphernalia.
Mr. Chair, I move the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kravinoff to repeal section 4-4-1 drug paraphernalia. Any further discussion?
Just one comment.
Commissioner Barrett.
There's not more than 3 that we can chop out of here?
That was the ones that we found as a committee, we thought were probably the safest.
Safest ones? All right.
Get rid of.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just wanted to thank our group. This was not it's really a two-part issue. When I took this job, I inherited a tote of ordinances. And Mark worked, we worked back in 18 and 19, we were going to work on the codification then something like COVID came around, and that kind of put a halt to that. And so we're very happy because I think we had access, residents had access to our code, but you would have to search down the web page, and to put this in a more usable form, I think is helpful to our citizens. And as was mentioned, this wasn't a couple months thing. We had the recorder's office working on it for over a year. There are very few people who love policy writing as much as Mark, and so we're extremely fortunate to have someone who has taken all of our policies and made them make sure they made sense with each other. And so that's been a really important thing, and so we appreciate the committee's work. And again, this kind of goes to what we've been trying to do with our data collection, with our safety plan, with our MCIT, with our procurement, of making sure we have a mechanism in place so we're not going back to something from 1985 and repealing from different areas. So thank you.
You're welcome. Couple things I wanted to touch on right before we're done here. First of all, you see it says congratulations, this document's been sent to your presiding officer. So you should have 3 emails now that should come from
Got 'em yet.
newreply@civicplus.com, so hopefully those will show up. Guess we'll find out, huh? The second one is next week, you're going to be hearing all about the Title 8, which is the development code, which is going to be folded into this. And then, as you kind of mentioned before, if we could make modifications or revisions to the code, it's a little different process. And right now, there's going to be a group actually meeting later this week to look at revisions to Title 6, Chapter 1, which is subsurface sewage treatment systems, basically to bring that up to the current state rules. As we go through that, we'll look and figure out if we need to bring that to you or not. And it may require that, and that will be a public hearing and those steps, which will give us the practice on how to make that piece work. But so that's in work right now, if to update that one. This is one we just need to make sure it's current with what the state laws are. Okay, any other questions?
Commissioner Moschel.
Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. I know it's been a long discussion. We've talked a lot about codification and what's the right avenue for it and what needs to be done. I know there's times that we have committees that are assigned to a board chair just to kind of keep them abreast of what's going on. And this might be one that seems to be a good rotational assignment for the board chair, just to let, because you do need to coordinate with them on their signature, but just give them a heads up what items we've identified as maybe changing, just to keep a member of the board in the loop, I think.
Okay.
Do you guys want to make a motion to add that to the chair position?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the board sees value in that, I think it's important just to assign that. So I'll make a motion to assign the board chair to this committee to address the county codes.
Well said.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sheriff. And Brian, thank you for your work on that as well. All right, next item on our agenda is a closed session for board discussion regarding pending litigation per statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B, attorney-client privilege.
So offer a motion to go into closed session per the advertised reasoning.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Brian, we do have somebody here from the city of Comstock. Can we have them in here or not? Okay. I just want to All right, we are now back in session here. The next item on our agenda is the request approval to advertise for SAP 014602-031.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, Justin.
Good morning. So the item that I'm bringing forward today is approval to advertise for the urban reconstruction project through Comstock. So if you've driven through Comstock in the past year, that road is deteriorating at an alarming rate. We can't keep up anymore on patching a lot of the potholes that we're seeing. And this urban reconstruct project is something that we've been working on for many years. So I think it's going to ultimately be a really, really good project.
And I do want to point out that Commissioner Mojo and I and you and Administrator Larson also attended a Comstock meeting. We have a representative from Comstock here this morning, and there was really some strong concern about that project, the delays that have occurred on it, and how important it is that that project not be delayed any longer. So, so it's kind of before us right now. If there's any questions, I don't. Is Comstock? Do you have? Okay. Okay. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One, I really appreciate the Highway Department's flexibility. This has been a project that's been on our 5-year plan. It's gone through the course of the 5-year plan. We've delayed construction just to coordinate and collaborate with the diversion authority on this. Those of you that might not be familiar with the thoroughfare that is through Comstock, it has really become a highly used roadway for materials for the diversion project. The CW Co-op is quite an economic engine in southern Clay County. They have a facility that really we even designed the tieback levee on 75 around to make sure that we weren't holding the CW Co-op kind of in a tricky position. So coordinating with this really goes to so many different parts of industry and making sure that we're working to, one, get it done, because if you've taken a drive through that, it's deteriorated deteriorated to a level of not being safe for vehicles. Now, when you start talking fully loaded gravel trucks, grain trucks, it's quite dangerous. And I believe in the last couple of weeks, we've had multiple instances in which farmers and residents have experienced multi-$1,000 repairs because of this. This is something that we was promised to the city of Comstock and the residents there as part of the settlement agreements. It's a contingent of permit requirements for DNR and the Buffalo Red, and it's imperative that this is completed as soon as possible. And then my last comment is, it's our job at the county to make sure that we are planning projects in a way that has minimal disruption to our residents. If you look at the next 24 months of construction throughout the county, if this project is delayed to another year, it will result in detours upwards of 10 miles around, and it's just not something, one, that we can do, but really will put a strain on what our system is.
Thank you. Justin, can you, you talked about that there's really no repairs that can be done. I mean, if there were to be something done, it's something that couldn't be done in-house. You'd probably be looking at a significant mill and overlay that could still be a very expensive, but even that would be a very short-term fix, right?
Correct. You could do a mill and overlay on this stretch, but like you said, it would be a very short-term fix. It would be a Band-Aid on a much larger issue. And a mill and overlay would not address any of the drainage concerns that Comstock currently has. And like 2 years ago when we flooded, we had to use our backhoe to go dig around town so they didn't get flooded. A mill and overlay wouldn't address any of those issues.
And those, and the people of Comstock, they signed easements on that project, right?
That's correct.
And they signed those easements based on a timeline that was given to them that the project would be completed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And not only did those sign those easements, but they signed those easements without any
Compensation. That's correct.
So I mean, that goes to show the importance that it is to those landowners there on that project, so. Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, given the facts that have been laid out here pretty clearly, this is an urgent issue. It needs to be addressed. It's a public safety issue. And I would go ahead and I'd like to move that we request that we give approval to advertise SAP 014-602-301.
031.
03, I'm sorry.
And then with a proposed letting date.
With the letting date
July
of,
1st.
Oh, yep.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger and second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries unanimously. All right, and next we have request approval to advertise for SCP 014-300-002.
Yes, so we don't do CPs very often, so it's it's a little different. So this is a countywide striping project that, if you remember, in my 2025 budget, the money that we had typically had for the Moorhead turnback payment, I turned it into, or my request in the 25 budget was to use that for striping and seal coating. So this is the striping project that it will basically cover the entire county, and it'll catch us up. And I would also propose a letting date of July 1st, 25 for this as well.
One comment.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Bear.
How many miles would this cover? Is it all county roads that we're gonna look at?
Correct. Anything that's not covered under an overlay or construction project this year, we stripe.
Stripe all, okay.
And then we also do have an HSIP. Every other year, we joined different counties in District 4 that covers edge lines. So it also won't cover that because that'll be bid out this summer too, and Becker County takes the lead on that.
Edge lines as in the side of the roads.
Yep,
So this is
the white 6-inch fog line.
So this is the yellow line going down the center.
And the fog line that's not covered under that HSIP contract. And then also cover pavement markings like crosswalks, railroad crossing aheads.
So how long does something like that take?
I would guess a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, those paint trucks can put some miles on, especially if they bring a couple different crews.
Sure.
This is a big enough of a contract where you're gonna get a couple bidders.
Perfect. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement of CP 014-300-002 with a proposed letting date of July 1st, 2025.
A second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Krabenhoff. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Justin. You had
And I just have one update on construction. So CASA 34 from Felton west to County 11 will be starting hopefully sometime later this week. So construction will be starting here really soon.
One question to that.
Yes, go ahead.
Are they gonna start that one and then finish that and then roll straight over to the Ulen side?
That's their plan, yes.
All right. I see they have signs up by Ulen saying road closed and
Yep.
getting ready, so.
So their plan is to start on the west portion first, and then once the mill is done there, move over to the east.
So they're gonna mill west and go over to Ulen Mill, and then as they're milling, they'll be putting down asphalt and
Yep.
the whole stretch.
Yep.
Perfect.
Any last updates on the 52 project? Is that timing wise and?
Still on, no delays as of now. It's going well. We're still working through final design and easements and
Okay, all right. All right, thank you, Justin.
thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports. What did I start with last time?
You can start with me.
You want me to start with you?
I don't have any, so you can start with me.
Last
You were, the day was last time.
Yeah, I think Paul started last week. I'm gonna start
Okay.
with Commissioner Moore.
Perfect. May 20th, I attended the Highway Tracking Committee meeting. We really discussed the request from the city of Comstock to attend the council meeting in regard to the roadway, which we just talked about prior. On May 21st, I attended the Red River Basin Commission Joint Powers Board. We had a presentation by Rob Sipp on legislative asks regarding flood hazard mitigation at the state legislature, talked about the enormous requests about water mitigation statewide and how there's a nominal $6 million in the budget to address $100 million in flood mitigation requests. We then had a presentation from Ted Priester on the work of the Basin Commission. There's some really good data and studies that they've come forward with, and I did encourage him to talk with Steve about getting on the board here. I just think it's really helpful information. And then I attended a meeting in regards to Minnesota diversion land discussion impacts. Then after that, I had the May Land Management Committee meeting of the Diversion Authority. We had a recommendation on excess land, particularly the Horace Railroad corridor. Felt that really fell in line with what the policy said, and then give an update on land sales. On the 22nd, I attended the MCC JPA meeting. We had a property acquisition report. There was a settlement agreement that had action on it, a lease termination letter, which was something that the landowners were aware was coming, and a rental agreement, and then had action on a settlement negotiation. On Friday, sorry, I have to pull up my meeting. On Friday, I attended that evening, I attended the CAP LP Board of Directors report. We had a really great update on Child Care Aware and all of their work in North Dakota and Minnesota. We had all of our agencies and particularly staff do such a phenomenal job in procuring grant funding. We had $150,000 worth of grants at this board meeting alone. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants that they're able to write for and secure. So my gratitude on that. That's always so helpful. And then Friday attended the flood mitigation check-in with the diversion reps on the Minnesota side, and then the chamber, and then met with Steve and Quinn on our PRTF and our legislative wrap-up requests, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ezra.
Mr. Chair, I have no committee reports from last week.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Hey, Mr. Chair, on last Tuesday, the 20th, we had our PIC committee meeting. Sheriff Empting was here, along with Chief Deputy Martin, to discuss the program, the future of the Sentence to Serve program, which is a state-funded out of the Department of Corrections. We pay 75% of it. No, we pay 25% of it. Oh, we pay 75% of it. The funding, the 25% was due to be cut because the legislature had ended the program with a sunset of July of '26. However, there's been a development since then, and County Administrator Larson sent out a notice to me, a copy of the email, and this will be ending on June 18th. So really, the discussion of where we could go with this was moot, state shutting it down that early. We discussed the June 17th PIC meeting time, since that'll be the date that we have our meeting moved to the evening, our board meeting, and we decided we would keep it at noon. And I don't know if the location, if you'd want to come out here, or if we should meet at the government center.
I'll talk with Anna.
Okay. Let's see, on Wednesday,
Probably we'll stay here because right after that, there's been scheduled an insurance committee meeting, and that, we always do have that here because of the number of folks that we have from our staff that are here, so I would say that we'd probably keep it here, because we'll be here right before that, I should say, for the insurance committee meeting. I think it is, right?
It's at 10.
10 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, makes sense to be here.
Okay.
Okay, on the 21st, I had the Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting. Basically, we just covered the high points of it were contracting actions, and it was just general business, nothing earth-shaking at that meeting. The following day, on 22nd, we had the board meeting for the Diversion Authority. There was discussion on the technical dispute board. It's now fully formed. We have 3 people on it, and work is getting put together to get legal counsel for them and to get them up and running to address some of the issues that need to be addressed. We have a new person for the Land Division, Director of Lands, Justin Fisher, will be coming on board with that as a new hire on that. And that is pretty much all the noteworthy things from that meeting, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Grappel.
Mr. Chair, so back last Tuesday, we had the Adult Mental Health LOC monthly meeting. Earlier that day, in front of the commission, they gave their annual report, and the feedback to all of us is a great thank you for listening, and appreciated the feedback that was given by the board. At the meeting, we had a presentation by the Project F5. I don't know if any are aware of it, but it's a big group in North Dakota throughout the state that is now moving toward to trying to work in Minnesota more. And what they do is they work with people that are coming out of prisons. Most of them are all felons on probation, and it's a transitional type, well, much like we do with our juvenile, there's transitional places for housing for these people to help them get situated back in population, as well as finish their education and other things. They're starting to work with Becker County right now through the attorney's office, trying to set up a shop there, and I think they're going to be reaching out to Clay County also as time goes on. So it's a good presentation by them. A couple events coming up that the LOC will be part of is they have a booth both at Breakfast on the Farm on June 14th, and they'll have a booth with us on Government Day at the County Fair on July 11th. That evening, I attended the county planning. There were two things spoke about. They had a request for use home occupation out by Holly for a home occupation to permit continued operating and tree service business, and it was on a farm ag site. That was approved. And then the bigger one was, and this will be coming to the full board, I think in not too long. Anyway, there's a 50 or 40 acre expansion to a pit, the Aspen Acre pit out by Holly, and they went through the environmental impact statement, answered all the questions, and the board didn't find it necessary to go on to have a EIS statement done by the state. They felt there were no conflicts that grew beyond the, I think I said that wrong, the EAW, the questions that were answered, seemed to be good enough that the board didn't feel that it needed to go on to an environmental impact statement. Again, I think that'll be coming to us and presented by Matt in a couple of weeks. And then last but not least, Commissioner Mojo mentioned our CAP LP monthly meeting. The one I want to point out, she did well on her report, just again back to grants. This group in the last month has received $580,000 through grants for homelessness and working with youth homelessness. So it's nice to see a very active entity doing such great work in Clay County. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you. All right, on May 20th, we had a highway tracking meeting that basically it talked about with Justin regarding concerns with the Comstock Road project. That same day, we had our Personnel Issues Committee meeting. As was discussed, the primary discussion was regarding the Sentence to Serve program, which Commissioner Ebringer talked about. That's now going to be sunsetted, so there becomes a little bit of a budget issue. I think we had a certain dollar amount budgeted through 2025. And if it's being terminated, does that financial obligation, those funds for that remaining part of the year, so we had some conversation with the sheriff. Obviously, we've heard from many that Sentence to Serve did a good thing from a community standpoint. However, not all of it was necessarily within Clay County. The work that was done wasn't in Clay County, but yet we funded 75% of that position. So I think the sheriff is going to kind of review internally how to best deal with that. Of course, we already have our internal one. That's through the Sheriff's Department now. So now that we know that the state has discontinued that, I think the conversation will go back with the sheriff and see how he thinks, if anything, that type of work should be modified. And I'm sure he'll come back to pick with that if he wants to have anything changed. Then on the May 21st, we had the Diversion Authority Land Management Committee meeting. Commissioner Mojo already reported on that, and I really don't have anything to add. We did deal with some excess lands issues that are important it's good that we are no longer holding on any land that we don't need to have, and it gets back into private hands. On the 22nd, Thursday the 22nd, we had the Moorhead Clay County Joint Powers Board Authority, and we did deal with a lease termination, with some rental agreements. We're working on one RIMP application that's right on the county, Clay County, Wilkin County line. And then we had an update on another settlement, nest settlement agreement, which we also then approved. So the activities continue to happen on land negotiations in Clay County, that's for sure. Also, then on May 22nd, we also had the Diversion Board Authority meeting. And I think Commissioner Ebinger reported on that. I think I don't really have anything to add to that as well. And then on Friday, May 23rd, we did have the chamber policy kind of update on Minnesota legislative issues pertaining to diversion authority and some other things. And I don't have any more to add other than what Commissioner Mojo reported on. That's the beauty of going last. I don't have to talk as much. But and that concludes my report. So, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, participated in both the PIC and highway tracking meeting. That's been well covered. That evening, went to the Comstock City Council with Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Mojo, and Justin Sorum, our highway engineer. The 21st, I sat through a AMC legislative update web meeting. Again, they talked about where we were from going into a special session from the standpoint of I think that 21st was the cutoff for committees to deal with the budgets, and then it was going to be going to leadership. They had hoped to get something done prior to Memorial Day, but obviously that didn't happen, so we'll see what comes this week. 21st, met with Corey, Darren, Lori, and Brian in regards to the resource recovery facility. On the 21st, also met virtually with a vendor, looking at, with the upcoming budget and the challenges we're having, looking at some potential budget savings if that was an option. On the 22nd, to participate in the MCC JPA meeting, which has been well covered. On the 23rd, I met with Sheriff Empting on a series of county issues. And on the 23rd, also participated both in the web meetings for the flood mitigation with the Chamber and City of Moorhead, and also the non-secure detention juvenile facility meeting, which again was Commissioner Mojo and Quinn talking about some of the challenges they'll be facing. Just a few minor things. Budget packets went out last week. Our department heads have about 3 weeks to get those back to the auditor's office. You'll begin to see presentations before this board starting in July. Just a note for those coming to the courthouse, it's sometimes a little bit of a challenge, just so everyone's aware. Of June 2nd, Main Avenue is going to close as far as the project to the underpass, and so Center Avenue is going to kind of be your main way east-west, and also traversing to try to get up to the courthouse. And then the last thing, I guess, it's a kind of challenging to have this discussion or without the legislative session not being completed yet, but this board has approved requesting funding for a non-secure detention facility. We've been talking about getting on the capital bonding tour to seek funding and increase the likelihood of that happening. The deadline to getting on the next 2-year cycle is June 13th. And so if the board's wishes were for me to bring that forward on an agenda next week, just to talk about what the thought process from the board would be. Maybe we'll have some additional answers from the legislature by then.
Yes, I would suggest we have that on the agenda.
Yeah, I think it needs to be on the agenda. You know, I think we have to have a frank conversation about continual asks, but certainly we can always maybe have the scope broader now to get on the governor's tour and then narrow it as we get closer. But again, this board has to talk about that.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Darren?
All of my meetings have already been covered, so I won't drag that out. The only thing I did have was, we had a Clay County Picnic Committee meeting for our county picnic on the June 24th, so mark your calendars for that. Flyers and invitations will be going out for that shortly. And Thursday, the 22nd, I just finished up a Department of Labor investigation, so.
Commissioner Mojo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just the kickoff to summer is this weekend with breakfast on the farm on Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to noon. It will be at Kaysen Farms again. They do such a great job there.
All right, thank you. Sarah? Nothing? Other than the fact that we should try to stay on time here, right, for you? All right, seeing nothing else, we are adjourned.